Hey everybody, welcome back to the Defuse. I'm Alan IHOLDSHIFT on it for you.
And I'm Austin Visions Neil.
And you are looking clean. I know you're not happy.
I needed that haircut. I know.
I know you're not happy about it.
I didn't get to see my usual barber, Alan. He was sick. It was unfortunate.
So
We're here. It's too late.
For the people listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, please explain to the people what you would normally do compared to what you currently have on your head, because this is important.
All right. This is important info. Usually important. I would get like a skin fade on the side all the way through, kind of like a high skin fade down. You know, it transitions into the beard pretty nicely. Usually there's a lot less on top, and it just, I don't know, has like a nice fresh look to it. I felt like I just kind of got like a bit of a trim and doesn't look much different than before, but here we are.
We got a clean lineup of the beard, though. We can at least appreciate that. Hey, welcome to the Fuse, everybody. We're ready to go with a lot of different talking points. Some of them a little spicier than others. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. But let's get into First Blood.
First Blood.
Let's get it going with it. I'm telling you, man, there are some topics today, and First Blood is where we will take the hottest topics in the CDL and discuss them in a little bit of greater length. Trying to aim for around 5 minutes worth of time, which I actually need to get my timer out, so I make sure we're holding ourselves honest to this one. But we have to start with the most recent matchup that we just had on screen, right? I mean, just flat out.
We did.
Simple fact of the matter is, we had a hot one. New York, Dallas. You thought for a second it was going to be a 3-0 easy clap for New York. Apparently not the case.
Not the case, Alan. And this was a pretty hyped up series. You know, this was the one I think we were looking forward to the most today because it's Clayster going up against his previous team. Last time we saw the guys play up against each other, it was a hot 3-0. There wasn't a whole lot of contention from New York. This time around, this was a very winnable series from New York, and I'm sure they're kicking themselves in the butt because of it, because we go back towards, you know, that third map in Control. They were up, and they were looking like they might have had, you know, the life fleet as well as the Control to be able to close that one out. Not the case. We see the ice come through there from Dallas. They're able to clutch up and really bring that one home, and that one stings a bit, right? And I think that also lingers in towards their minds going in towards some of those future maps. They feel it. It's really unfortunate, and we started to see, you know, this Dallas squad that everyone's been hyping up since the beginning of the year really come online and actually bring that one back there in their favor.
Look, I'm just going to start off where everything started, which was the double dose of checkmate at the beginning. Let's be honest. I don't think there are a lot of teams that are out there that like playing checkmate. This is kind of the way that it goes. It's kind of a weird map. But I will say, you know, one of the things that we kind of marked on for New York in the past was the fact that they are playing very creatively. And when DiamondCon is doing what DiamondCon is doing in those first maps, well, what do you expect? I mean, it's an AR-centric map. Your AR flex is getting involved, to say at the very least. And that leads to a dominating first map. The search and destroy is just as good as we expected from this New York team that we saw them in the past. And Dallas came out a little flat, honestly. But the fact of the matter is, again, you make mistakes versus Dallas, they will punish you. And we saw that in the Control, right? I mean, that last second where Clayster maybe just waits a little bit longer, wait for the play to develop. Maybe there's a chance to capitalize, and you don't have to see a fourth map or a fifth map, and you put the series away in your favor. But that was not to be. And that's the one thing I like about this Dallas team, even though they're not very convincing right now with how they're coming out. They're not really smoking anybody. They are punishing when teams make mistakes against them, which is what we came to know last year.
And if your worst trait at the moment as a team is you're not able to close at the map, you're getting extremely close. There's a lot of worse things that teams are suffering through right now within the CDL. So I don't think that it's the end of the world by any means. And I mean, they were on, I think it was like 7 maps in a row up and towards, we saw Dallas, of course, pull out the reverse sweep. So there's still a lot of things going right for this entire roster. And you touch on a lot of these players, I think, really stepping up towards those roles that need to be fulfilled. Diamond Connie's been great. The clutches actually in general from this squad, I think Search and Destroy, the way they're starting to develop and play into it, is really starting to come together. I think when we get towards that Miami, they're starting to get flustered. You know, maybe they're starting to think, oh man, they might actually pull off the reverse sweep and things get away from them. But I'm still very, very convinced that this squad is only going to get better and better and better as we go week to week. The biggest problem is just simply getting a close on these maps. And once they get a handle on that and can actually start to get themselves in towards the position where they're not fumbling these leads that they're building up or not fumbling these final moments, this New York squad absolutely, you know, has the potential to be able to contest these high teams.
And look, at the end of the day, you're looking at a team right now in this Dallas Empire that they're 4-3 in hardpoint, they're 4-3 in search and destroy, but they're still holding positive differentials in both of those modes. They're still on average winning hard points 218 to 200. Their search and destroys are an average of 4.5 rounds a match to 4.2 rounds that they're giving away a map. But the big thing for me is the fact that they're looking very good in control. And again, when you're able to punish teams on a map set like control, it reminds you a lot of like what teams did last year on domination. If you can find that little edge on that swing map, anything can happen. I mean, let's be honest. Were we expecting maybe a bit more from Dallas off the rip? Yeah, for sure. But to be fair, we've never seen them play checkmate search and destroy before today. And the last time that they played checkmate hardpoint, it was versus Minnesota. And there was that lobby restart situation that kind of happened. And it was only a 250 to 201 there versus a very bad Minnesota Rocker hardpoint team. So I don't know if those maps were really the greatest choices overall for Dallas. The backside of the series was much more favorable for them. The Garrison hardpoints map that we've seen them dominate on before, and then the Miami Search Destroys map that we've seen them also win before. So I think that if there were to be a reverse sweep, the maps that was very, very favorable for it.
Yeah, the maps that they get, these close range kind of, maps for as far as what they're able to do with their subs, it works the best. So I'm excited to see what they can do and how they're going to be able to develop that map pool as a whole. But we move along towards what we have here for Toronto and Paris. This one stings, Alan, but at the same time, I'm also like, man, I'm calling out that this Paris squad really is the real deal. I think they're starting to show us that. I mean, this roster literally has been just, four misfits more so that have been put together that a lot of teams weren't looking to pick up and might not have even found themselves on towards the CDL team if it wasn't for Paris. But,
totally
with
fair.
the minimum cap coming through for $50,000, just looking to assemble some players, there was not a lot of expectations coming into this roster. Everyone, I think, for the most part, at least the majority, was writing this squad off as a squad that was just not going to be great. They're probably going to finish dead last, and that's that. Paris, we don't know what's going on with them, but they're actually doing pretty okay. And Toronto, sure, probably should have closed this one out 3-1, and they were looking pretty good, I would say, especially in the search and destroy. We saw a 6-0 on Moscow, methods with a 1v4. Like, there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of great energy flowing for these guys, but Paris very, very relentless to be able to step back in towards the series, be able to actually take control in these respawns, which is the biggest factor, because you're looking at these guys on paper, Alan, and you're not thinking, damn, this looks like a solid respawn team, but it's just their teamwork that's really coming together, right, and actually making it happen.
Look, it's one of those things that you, again, get, I think, largely impressed when you see a team, again, take advantage of mistakes. I hate that I'm bringing that up for the second time, literally in 2 points that we've had so far in the show, but it does say a lot about your team overall. The ability to punish a team when they're following, because one of the things that we're starting to notice very largely is that we're getting teams that are essentially evenly matched in a lot of ways, and it does come down to that one advantage that you're able to find. We see it on rotations and hard points, we see it on search and destroy setup breakdowns, and we see it on controls where one decision is all that really makes the difference between the series overall. In this time, we're seeing Paris, in the respawn specifically, largely make a lot of the right choices, outside of the control on raid, where that was very much so all Toronto all the way through. But when you take a look at what Toronto's been doing, how many more heartbreaks are they going to go through on hard points? I mean, it's usually, if there's a raid hard point in the mix, that Toronto's going to go down to a P5 final hill and likely throw it on 4 to 5, because that's just what happens almost every single time so far. At a certain point, there has to be some sort of a change, a mindset thing. My whole thing about this, though, regardless of the results, yeah, Toronto is currently one of their last 9 when it comes to their overall respawn modes, but you got to keep in mind that a lot of those maps have been pretty terribly close. So you have to learn from these. I think if you're Toronto, it's my overall urging kind of storyline. You have to learn from these. You need to come out versus LAG much, much, much cleaner.
It has to be clean, and I think for their mental sake, it does too. I think that's the first time we've seen this Ultra Squad really look that disappointed as well after we saw the series. They're going to the player camp just about every single time, and you could just see, the frustration. Cammy Bant showing it, physically on camera, and actually, just you can see them almost arguing, or at least showing that frustration, laying back in their chairs, trying to talk about the match, and things are not good. But it's still at a point where they're playing a lot of close maps. They just came off playing the 2 top teams that I think a lot of people would consider to be in the league at the moment with Optic and FaZe. So I don't think you're too heartbroken. And if you remember from last year as well, Ultra really turned things up halfway through the season and then became one of those contending squads. So I'm not too worried for them at the moment, but it is a little bit concerning. I will say that the respawns just simply have not been closed out.
Well, and beyond that, now this also has some pretty big implications as far as the standings are concerned, because now that Toronto is now 1-3 with only 1 match to play, I'm pretty sure it guarantees them to start in the lower bracket, does it not?
Because I think so.
They're playing up against LAG, so that, again, the 2 and 3, they're not going to take over anyone's spot. Because Paris holds the tiebreaker versus Toronto, so they should be in the bottom 3 regardless of the outcome that they play up against LAG. That's, again, just one of those things that you just don't feel like this team should be in that position with the maps that they've played. And who knows, maybe I'm just cursing these guys with my pickups, dude. I'm telling you, it might be that way. It's all my fault. It absolutely has to be. It's just one of those things that I think largely, as much as I want to kind of harp on the fact that Toronto's been choking too much on these hard points, I still think the overarching storyline for me is the fact that Paris is playing really darn well. And it comes after them getting completely blown out in the Moscow Search and Destroy, completely blown out in the Raid Control. They play both hard points very, very well. And then beyond that, you take a look at their overall records. They're still serviceable in their Search and Destroy and their Control over the history of playing up against teams like Chicago, LAG, Florida Mutineers. The problem is for Paris, your last matchup is against the Atlanta FaZe. And I think we'll really learn a lot about these guys when they play up against Atlanta, because when they played Chicago, it was a 3-0, not a beatdown, but it was still pretty convincing in the end overall. So I feel like we're going to learn a lot about this Paris team when they play up against Atlanta coming up.
I think we will as well. And as we talked about a lot of Garrison being played today, Alan.
Yeah.
Garrison problems. I think we were watching over, a Search and Destroy with LA, and we're like, dude, like, what do you do right now on the attack?
You do nothing.
If you're not finding a first blood, I mean, it just feels like you're not going to ever win the rounds. And then if you can't get the bomb down as well, I mean, it's also so suffocating, right? Like, you only have so many options. We haven't seen, I don't think any teams really try to hit out green for the most part at the start of these rounds, which is something I'm almost worth, at least trying. Like, let's just see if you can maybe start to draw an extra man over there so you can open some space, because your really only options are trying to find a pick around Square or Tetris and being able to get some lights control and maybe finding an option to be able to push through, right? Like, you don't have any options to do anything, and you can just see the same positions being held, and it's quite honestly kind of boring to watch, right?
It's boring.
Like, it's nothing to it. It is very, very dumbed down, and it's a massive problem right now for as far as this map.
Look, the one-dimensional Search and Destroy, like, we're not kidding when we say that. We don't see A hits. There is no way to make a design play to A right now, simply because of the fact it's positioned all the way out in Narnia. The only rotation that you could take would essentially be, all right, we've already taken the B site, or we have to go through choke point after choke point after choke point if you go through the top green area. It's just not a viable bomb site. No matter what way you cut it, it's just not viable at all.
No.
You go over to the Control, same problems largely exist. There is no way that you can set up a design execute play off the rip to go to A, unless you're going to full flood top green, which is dangerous because the Sat truck exists and there's that Godheady that's there. And let's be honest, we saw Revan the other day post about, the hard point spawns, and fortunately Maddox was able to get in there and respond saying we're going to try to fix this, but there is not enough space on the map for hard point spawns to exist. Like, that is the one map. It's a one-lane map. Every single hardpoint location has a maximum of 3 default spots to spawn, and that's a maximum. Most of them only have 2. You're spawning on the left side of it or the right side of it. That's largely about it. It's boring. It's very, very boring. Get some service into this map, because we've seen Moscow be changed. We've even seen Miami Strike come into the mix. They're talking about that happening. We've got, all these maps that are getting adjustments to it. I want to see, and someone posted on Reddit, I didn't remember what the username was, but it's on there as one of the top voted things. Open up that space behind the Sat truck and get a couple of doorways into trash or ammunition, because then there's an opportunity for a little bit of a ramp to be played with. The platform up top is still a little bit of high ground that you could watch it from top green platform, that kind of area. It brings so much more dimensionality to the map, because right now this map is boring. It's not fun to watch any mode on it right now.
I agree. It's a massive problem, and I think that's the solution to opening things up. Like, just think about what that would do of having an entry point in behind the SATCOM truck, because that might opt you in either to playing, a lot more defensively, by that A site, because you're open towards, 2 angles now instead of just one push through, right?
You can't just sit on that railing.
That's right. It gives you the opportunity to at least try and find these windows to coordinate a hit to green and that alley and then take control of A. And sure, like the bomb site's still kind of pushed in behind bricks and it's still a difficult site, but it's going to be so much easier to at least get to it because I don't think we've seen any hits so far go towards that site,
None.
at least as 4-man off the start, and
No.
you just can't get to it. So it's a massive problem, has to be fixed. I think that's the solution. I will say I don't think hardpoint's too bad for it right now, besides the spawns that we did
There's
talk
just a
about.
lack
Like,
of spawn locations in my mind.
sure, I do agree, but I think I still at least can stand watching it. And I know we don't have too many maps to play with at the moment, so it's difficult to maybe find something to kind of supplement for it. But I do at least enjoy watching that. But the other two modes, man, I'm just like, I'm feeling
It's
for
hard.
the guys on attack right now. I'm like, let's see if they can do it, man. Maybe they can, but likely not.
It's just such a long laundry list of things that have to go right, like on the control specifically, to get to that A site. And if you get to step 4 and you get stopped before you get to step 5, you go all the way back to step 1 again. It's just, you take across the map so much. And even with that, if you think about the idea of opening up that backside of the satellite truck, you could also move the bomb site to be right in that where the A control site is. Just move it up a little bit further. So then there's an actual place that the offense can set up a post plant, because that's the other problem. Even if you get the bomb planted at A, there's nowhere to set up a post plant because it's literally in a tight corner in a back alley. Search and destroy is by far the biggest problem right now, because again, it literally is just it could be a total of 11 rounds of who is better at B. That's literally the only thing that this map is good for right now, and that's just way too one-dimensional. It's way too boring. I'm starting to come around when it comes to the control. There have been some exciting moments that have happened on that map across both Challengers and the Pro League, but the lack of hardpoint spawns is frustrating. It's hard to kind of break down, and we're seeing weird spawns happen because of it, not just once, but that's actually twice that we've seen that happen now. That has required the devs to get involved on Twitter to try to respond. So I'm hoping that they kind of take that feedback, because it was a very popular post on Reddit. But with that, hey, it is time for Chocolate Talk!
I love this one, baby. And we got a good one, too, to start things off, because we talk about Reddit, we talk about the social media. Well, this guy has been on Reddit and social media quite a bit, hasn't he? We got Tupac Thug Lord here. And, you know, if you do not know who Tupac is, big S&D star. He's been playing, I think, since COD 4, at least at a high level. I think he's one of the most winningest players throughout actual golds through a lot of these tournaments on GB, UMG, and whatnot, CMG, and stuff like this. So very, very talented individual. Was, of course, on the Huntsman last year, was their S&D analyst. I think it was only for about half the year. And then I don't know if he was working with that squad too much longer than that. But he's someone that I am absolutely talking for as far as who we bring in, because I think that he brings a lot of value towards the squad. There's a lot of teams that are struggling in search and destroy right now that I feel like could really use them. You don't have smokes, you don't have snipers, so it's really hard to be creative within your four. And I think bringing someone in like Tupac is going to be able to at least give you options and be able to maybe give you a different perspective outside the game to help.
Look, I'm not optimistic about the amount of impact that Tupac would instantly bring. Now, if you see him on Twitter, he's mostly saying that he needs to be brought in as a substitute player. And I would chalk that if he was just to be playing as a search and destroy player. But he's also said that he would be interested in coaching. And as much as I don't know how much value he'd bring, I'm still talking on the fact that there are some teams out there that are completely lost in search and destroy. And any bit of information would be useful for them. So I'm also going to talk up Tupac about trying to come in another form that he was last year for Chicago. Maybe not the greatest instance of kind of relating to a team when it comes to their search and destroy, because let's be honest, last year Chicago's search and destroy was barely above average at best at times, especially in the early part of the season, but they did get better over time. I'm kind of wondering on how much of that was because of Tupac and how much was because they just decided to get better and spend more time on it, because they don't have a search and destroy coach this year. They came out looking awful, and then they slowed things up and played more responsibly, and it looked a little bit better. So I'll talk it for now, but that's not like a firm stance. I don't know. I would be interested to see what he was able to do for a team. I think like right now, if a team were to pick him up, it would be like, okay, Tupac actually is helping, because let's be honest, Teddy Rex last year didn't help Seattle at all. So as we get over to capture the flag, answer me this, chalk it or talk it, that capture the flag should be in the competitive rotation.
Let's talk it, Alan. I want some CTF back, man. Like, It is such a fun game mode, and I think the argument is controls a lot more fast paced, and there's just more that you're going to be able to kind of bring towards an overall broadcast with that game mode. But I want to just bring back some moments, man. Like, even though you didn't watch Black Ops 2, like, do you know what the Optic fan is, Alan, where they throw that nade on Black Ops 2 and standoff, and the nade gets a massive two-piece right before the flag's about to go in? The crowd goes absolutely wild. It's one of the craziest Optic moments of all time. I still remember that like it happened yesterday because of that game mode. It's a very, very fun one. I'm very sad to see that CTF, hasn't even been brought in towards like the public playlist for as far as something that we've been able to do at the beginning of the game. And I think that it's a game mode that we could honestly just put in for game 4. Like, why not have another game mode in the rotation? Let's get rid of the second hard point. Let's have a CTF in. All you control fans still get your control. All the CTF fans still get CTF.
I like the idea, but you got to remember we're playing Cold War, and these maps are booty for CTF. Not a chance, dude. I'm chalking this. In this game, CTF would not work. You're looking at 2 maps maybe. Raid and Crossroads Strike. The only 2 maps that might be viable when it comes. And even still, I don't know if Crossroads would play all that well overall. I'm chalking this one up, dude. I don't know if there's a good third map for it. I still don't think that even with 2 maps, it would be totally okay at best. Is Control good? No, but it's because of the same problem that CTF would have. The maps, dude. It's the maps first and foremost in my mind. I am chalking up CTF. I know the conversation came in to take place at Domination last year. Okay, Domination had its problems. I still don't think that CTF would have been good in that game because it had the same problems when it comes to the same kind of map level design. Everything is all based off immersion and making things realistic. None of that plays well because you don't get the symmetry that you largely expect from CTF maps. Obviously not copy-paste. Not every map is symmetrical for CTF, but some of the more successful ones in the past have been, and I don't know, man. I'm chalking that up. I don't think CTF would fit in this game overall, so I'm going to chalk you on that one, but I don't know.
Fair enough. At least give it a try. Let's get it in there.
I gave it a try last year, right? Like there was like that one day CCL staff got it. We played through Modern Warfare CTF rotation, and it was okay at best.
I feel like it's because it's 5v5 though. I'm gonna be honest. I think that's why.
I think it was because of the maps though. Larger than the 5v5, and the maps are the problem. I don't know. Hey, XM4, lots of conversation around this one lately.
Lots.
Is the XM4 overtuned? Has been the larger question here. Chalking or talking that XM4 is overtuned to the current meta?
I think that it is overtuned. I'm gonna talk it. I think that this is a gun that is winning up close versus submachine guns, right? Like, that's a bit of a problem. Like, it has a faster fire rate than the 74U. Like, it's pretty wild. I mean, it's really good for the viewer aspect, I feel like, because you have your flex player, like your dashies that are able to not only beam people across the map, but also are able, to completely gun the subs up close. But the sub players don't like being gunned up close when they shouldn't be gunned up close. So I think that's the problem that we currently have right now. And as well as we're seeing a lot of them brought out. Typically, when we see a lot of guns brought out in towards the meta, similar to like a Black Ops 1 meta where we had like 8 FAMASs on the map at the same time, it's a little bit problematic. And I feel like this happens more on Checkmate more than any other map because of the way it kind of works and plays out with 2 long lanes. You're looking to beam people up close, but you're also looking for plane control. XM4 does the best of both worlds, with that exact situation. So I think it is a little bit overtuned. I think Kismet, Looney both came out today saying like, listen, man, I can't wait for this meta to kind of be over. And well, both of them are subs, so I can see why they would maybe want that XM4 out of there.
Yeah, I'm going to start by saying that, yes, I'm going to talk this because I'm going to go one step further. Not only is the XM4 overtuned, but I think the 74U is also overtuned. I still think that before the XM4 was buffed, I thought that the best time to kill in this game, I thought what the most fun was when it came down to playing, would be the MP5 after it was nerfed with the XM4 before it was buffed up. I thought that was a really, really fun time to kill. I would like to see that come into play because one of the reasons why we're not seeing Krigs is because Krigs are still losing to the F-74Us. That's ridiculous when you think about it that
Agreed.
way. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. So I will say the XM4 is a bit overtuned, but I think there needs to be some damage done to the 74U after that as well, because the Krieg fire is too slow. And if you over nerf the XM4, then it's going to be subs running all over the place, which would be fun for some maps. It would be complete toxicity for others, I think, overall. So that's kind of how that goes. Hey, good segment there of Chalker Talk coming through. Love to see it. Love to see it. But that means, oh boy, I don't know if we're ready for this one. Today's a rough day.
Oh.
We're going to go on the OE and get overextended, baby. Oh, man.
Oh, baby, Alan. All right. Here's my overextended dig. I'm OE-ing. I'm going all in. LA Thieves, best team in the game by far right now, Alan. No one comes close. They're too damn good. I'm coming in hot for the simple reason that we got Kenny looking on form. You can see the way he was just popping three pieces. Like, the guy is absolutely online. We talked about the Krieg maybe not being the best of weapons. Well, he's making it look like it's the best weapon in the game at times. TJ's looking like MVP form. He had a 12-0 game the other day. It was something we haven't seen in a very, very long time. I think he's extremely talented. Slasher showing and proving that he's still one of the top ARs currently in the game. And then you have just everything coming together, especially on Moscow as well. Don't play these guys on Moscow. They're too good. But I feel like LA really did showcase a lot of strengths today, and maybe we don't fully know until they play up against Optic, until they play up against FaZe. Sure, that's fine, but I think that everything is coming together. Temps also had a lot of his high moments, and he's the only one I think that has been really inconsistent. But I am sold on this roster. I really do think that this roster's come together, and they have completely proven me wrong. They're the best in the game, Alan. That's my OE.
Yeah.
Boom, mic drop.
Here's the thing. LA needs to play somebody. That's what it comes down to. They need to play somebody. Do I think that this is an OE that you could absolutely win? I think so. Because you're in a world where you're currently holding one of the best hardpoint records, and with that, one of the best hardpoint differentials. You're doing just fine in search and destroy, good differentials there, and your control has been good. So is there an argument to be made that LA Thieves could be the best team of the game? Yeah, but I don't know, brother. They haven't played anybody yet. That's my one concern for this route for you.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they can't exactly help that because of their group, but they're still flawless. They're still unbelievable, and we will get the true test when they go up against Dallas on Sunday, right? Dallas maybe not looking at the top, but I think that'll be a great look, and whether or not I'm completely blasted or if my OE is a good OE.
We'll see. We'll see if the route man gets paid here. Hey, speaking of, I'll go on the route here and talk my OE. This is one that I don't know how you could possibly argue with in my mind. Again, if you're new to the overextension here, the whole idea is we take a result and we way overreact to it. And mine is, and it might not even be that bad, Minnesota Rocker are way too slow for this game.
Yeah.
We saw it in the last game too. What was the problem? Why did GodRX get dropped away? Because Minnesota was playing too slow. Guess what? You've lost a member and you're still playing way too damn slow. What in the world do we have to do to get Minnesota to just play and make a decision and get active? If I have to sit and watch Major Maniac sit passive behind one of his teammates on search, watching the exact same angle, I'm going to lose my noggin. It's almost every single time I see it's like, Maniac, get involved, my dude. It was the same thing on a raid control that we broke down earlier, where he's just making routes happen where the rest of his team is doing something else. What are we doing if we're Minnesota? We have to do something more aggressive, I think, overall, because the decision-making is very lackadaisical. Yeah, they came out and looked good in Search and Destroy day one, but since then, they've been largely absent on their Search and Destroy, including an 0-6 loss to the New York Subliners and barely a round 11 win versus the Seattle Surge. So yeah, you beat Dallas. Great. Yeah, you beat LA Thieves. Sure, whatever. Teams are adapting. Teams are getting better. And this Minnesota Rocker team is playing so damn slow that I don't even know if they have it in them to even get close to winning a hard point anymore.
I mean, I'm with you on this one. I mean, this is a good OE, Alan. I mean, you are in the spawn, you have overextended, and you are absolutely on the money, because I just think there's a massive issue. And you look at this team, And there was a lot of people that like, damn, like Rocker is going to shake some things up. They're going to take down some teams. They're going to be great. And really they should be. And it's just so interesting to see something like Priesta and Attach being your front line in things still not working out in respawns. And it's like you have Accuracy, who is that slow player. So I'm with you. Major Maniac is just playing too slow currently in 4v4. And it's really hurting them. It's hurting them. And you're seeing that take a massive effect on the map, man. It
devastating them.
It's heartbreaking.
It's one of those things that you get off of watching Clay and Diamond Con as two main ARs from New York, and then you watch them play up against Accuracy and Major Maniac, and it feels like they're still in Modern Warfare. Like I feel like Mike is still hitting a route through Azure Cave west to east right now. Like it's so darn slow. I just need to get to see them involved, because the thing about it is when they get involved, they're good.
They are.
I don't know. Let's jump in. We got scrap time coming up here, boys and girls. Oh, hold on to your seatbelts. We got 20 seconds per topic, 6 topics to go through, and that means that we're going to get about 2 minutes of fury. Oh boy. Are we ready for it? I think we absolutely are. Let's dig on in. First thing up, Nadeshot's tattoo. What do you think about all this nonsense?
I love this, baby. Nadeshot, putting out the tweet. He got a lot more retweets than I think expected. And I want to say it's super close, right? Yeah, short amount of time, it blew up. So I love this. I love the community getting behind it.
I want to see it right across the chest, nipple to nipple. That's where I want it. If it does hit 1 million, nipple to nipple across the chest. Bryson Tunner back. What do you think about their debut?
Oh, man, I thought they had an excellent debut. Honestly, there was a lot of excitement there. They really made the entire viewer experience, I think, really enjoyable, even though, they're completely on the other side of the world right now, and they're up late doing it. So great stuff to these guys here on their debut.
Look, get these guys better microphones and everyone's happy. That's all I'm saying. They had an incredible set of casts. Love to see them back. Good for those guys. Who's best in the respawn right now? Who you got?
I got
just Hardpoint,
Optic
full
Gaming.
respawn. Okay.
Optic Gaming, best team in the game. Not even close, I think.
I've got Atlanta FaZe. They're fixing all their problems in Hardpoint, and their control is still looking pretty darn dirty. They're punishing teams. That one Garrison hit that they had over towards A to win while avoiding streaks, incredible. Best respawn team of the game in my mind. Hey, how about Crim6's little interview? What about the players union and the Hertz difference?
Oh, we got to do something real quick. Crim6 came out. He does what he does best. He gets the community riled up for a good reason. And yeah, we got to do something here for the players.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't know it was that bad. I thought they were playing still on custom servers overall. Not the case. I would love to see 60 Hz be the standard. It's 2021, for God's sake. Everyone else is doing it. Why can't we? Hey, how about predictions? Minnesota versus London. Who you got?
I got London 3-1 here, Alan.
Okay. Get ready for it. I just talked a bunch of shit about Minnesota, but I got Minnesota 3-2 in this one, mostly because I think London is still figuring things out, especially in the search and destroy. Even though Minnesota isn't good, I think that they're going to be just fine overall. How about the last one then? Dallas, LAT. You got?
I got LAT in this one, Alan. I mean, I hyped them up in the OE. It's for a good reason. I think they're going to take down Dallas here, and I think it's going to go the distance to a Game 5.
Look, Mr. J Pistachio is about to age faster than me when it comes to this matchup, because this one's going 5. LA Thieves are winning it. They're going to take it in 5 in my mind. I've got the Thieves as well. I do agree with you. I think LA Thieves very well could be the best team in the game. Hey, that's the scrap time, though. We completed our rotations. We soaked up all the time, and now we get into viewer questions. Hey, speaking of things you're also noticing coming up, we're going to be doing bye-bye twice, apparently. Cool editing shift. And then we've got a live giveaway that's also going to be happening, so make sure you're getting active in the chat for a chance at the LAG skin. Lovely. I bet we'll just do like a keyword or something of the nature to get us going on that one overall. Hey, let's take some questions, though, shall we? Let's get some music going. Let's do some chill step radio, and
let's do it.
Let's just hang out and vibe to some questions. Who's got questions? What did we miss? Because there's a lot of things we actually didn't get a chance to talk about today. I'm not gonna lie though, like the highlight of the last 2 days for me was actually Nadeshot's tattoo tweet. Like,
that was one of the best things ever. I mean, and the community just, they always surprise us with these, right? Like,
did you happen to see the video that 100 Thieves made, like chronicling the entire interaction?
I didn't. I did not.
It's really, I think it's really good. It is really good. Okay, so first question in the chat here: who's the best search team now that Rocker are not looking hot? What do you got?
I think I have mine.
I've got mine.
Could be biased, right? Of course. I still think that Ultra is actually one of the strongest search teams in the game.
Yep.
And I want to say this just for the simple reason is because I know they lose that game 5 towards Bears today, but I think those guys go on tilt after they don't close out that Garrison hardpoint. And I mean, you could physically see that in between, the matches. You can see their cams, you can see their faces, and the facial expression is telling a lot with their body language as well. So I still think that Ultra is just extremely good. I mean, how many games have we seen where they've went up 4-0 really early, like fast rounds? Like coordination is definitely here for them. So I'm still on board with that. Ultra is one of the best search and destroy teams right now.
I'm going to go with the Atlanta phase, and I know the easy rebuttal there is the fact that Toronto beat Atlanta in the first search and destroy, but we didn't see a second one because we didn't need to. And I still think that's the way that Atlanta has played search and destroy. Yeah, Florida was, I mean, I'll be honest, like I didn't get a chance to watch that ATL and Florida game live, but going back and rewatching it, Florida did not play super poorly. It was just Atlanta phase was playing that damn well. Like, there were some pretty okay setups from Florida overall. They weren't making too many mistakes, but Atlanta's breakdown of Florida's setups was incredible. They're looking so damn clinical overall. And outside of that raid search and destroy versus Toronto, the 2 6-1s in Moscow, the 6-0 in Miami, and even the 6-4 when they played out in Garrison, where, again, everything went to the B side versus LAG, I thought they played the more complete and more creative search and destroy overall. Although I do think Toronto is playing very good search. I would love to see them just play 5 maps of search and destroy and just go through the whole rotation, because that would be really, really fun to watch.
I'd be okay with that.
Let's see what else we got here.
Does Optic have the best AR combo? This is a really good question, actually. And I want to say yes. I'm trying to think, who else do we have as the best? Like, I'm just thinking of like the best ARs, period, right? Like the first ones that come to mind, Crim6, Slasher. You have yourself, I'm trying to think of Clayster, right? Like, I think New York has a really good AR combo with Diamond as the flex. But I think Dashy, for me personally, has been the best currently in the game, right? I think he's best, period. And it's just the fact that he's playing the AR flex along with Formal, who is really good at making sure that you do not have a good angle at shooting back. I was watching his stream, Alan, and like I was just watching the positioning of Formal, and he makes it so difficult for anyone to ever actually find a clear angle on him. And yeah, I'm pretty on board with that. I think that Optic do actually currently.
Yeah, I think that the AR line in Chicago is going to get more obvious love because their SMGs are also really good. So the responsibility is not as high as like a Gunless or an Octane, who I think are also showing up this game. The problem is they have pretty poor SMGs in front of them. So even if they're finding kills, they're still not able to do much with that like kill advantage. I think Skies and Awakening have showed a lot of great moments so far, but not as good overall as what we've seen from Chicago. I think I'm most excited about Clayster and Diamond Con as an AR duo. I think that's my favorite duo to watch right now. I think that Optic Chicago overall is probably the best AR duo, but I think that if Clay and Diamond Con, like especially if that's like a father-son duo right there, like I think Diamond Con, with the speed that he's able to play, along with Clayster, who's proactive, I think that they could take over. And we saw that happen on the checkmate, for instance, that first hard point today. So yeah, I think that it would be for me Dashy and Formal first, and then I think it would be Diamond Con and Clay, and then I think I would go Celium and Arcides after that.
That's fair. That's a good one as well.
Which team will be the first to make a sub/drop a player, and who will it be? Oh, so which team would make the first drop or put in a sub, and then which player do you think would get their first chance to get to the CDL to try to give their luck?
Maybe Mental. Mental might be the first sub to give it a shot, right?
I think so.
LEG came off of a really good. I mean, like I think like the other one obvious one would probably be Saints, but I'm just saying Mental because I think LEG is having the same problems they did last year. And I think that LEG Academy finally had a decent run in one of their cups, right? They finished top 3, I want to say.
They did, very
recently, right? So I think this maybe squad is maybe finally coming together. You invested a lot of money in towards Mental, so I think that he's one that you could potentially look out for. But I think the obvious choice is still, Saints could be the one that ends up coming in if for whatever reason this NYSL squad, keeps going downhill, let's say, and they end up losing a lot of their next couple of matches, and they just feel like it's necessary to make a change.
I'm going Florida. I got Havoc coming in. I think I do. I think, and I'm hoping we'll learn this weekend. Is Havoc playing with somebody in the cup this weekend?
Yes,
and
he will.
If he shows up, plays very well, and then this is cup number 8, and then we've got the first official Open Cup. That big money's on the line, big pro points are on the line. We'll be casting that.
Yeah.
And if he comes out during that and he shows up, and plays well, I think if Seattle in kind does not play, or Florida in kind does not play well at the opening playoff for this first stage, I think you switch out Slack and you bring Havoc into the mix. You got to give it a try, right? Like, there's not a lot going right now in Florida. So
I think them dropping Havoc is something to do outside of skill. I'm speculating totally, but that's what I'm thinking.
Really?
So I do. I mean, I don't think they dropped him just because of bad performance, because when we were watching him play in that throwback tournament with Optic, like Havoc wasn't playing bad. He was playing really well. Like it looked like he was really on the ball, and I didn't think that it was someone you did drop. So just speculation, but that's what I'm thinking.
Are the top 3 out of the phase group of teams going to run through other teams in the major due to playing better competition when it has mattered? So essentially the question is, do we see a better showing from the top 3 out of Group B than we do from Group A in that winner's bracket? Because they match up against each other, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's Atlanta, Chicago, and Paris that are top 3 in Group B versus the potential of LAT, Dallas, and New York.
I think so, yeah, for sure. That squad, I think that trio performs better, at least in the opening games. I think the top 2 for sure. Paris, could still probably end up losing to maybe like the top 2 out of that other group, but I still think that FaZe and Optic are up there for me, and maybe we get a bit of a surprise from LAT.
I would be, right now as it stands, I would love to see Atlanta play New York. That would be an awesome matchup. I think LA against Paris is a blowout. Dallas versus Chicago, probably a blowout for Chicago. Yeah, I think that, I don't know if run through is the right answer, but I definitely see Atlanta and Chicago doing more damage than the top 2 out of Group A. I don't know. I feel like Group A surprised us a bit, though. Like,
yeah, with talent, NYSL, I think.
With LAT playing as well as they have so far, and then New York also showcasing that they're able to play very competitively. Yeah, I think that should be the lock. I mean, New York, I don't see losing the rest of their matches. I mean, they don't have any more matches. They play Seattle. They don't lose that match. So it would have to be Minnesota beating London, and even still, subliners hold the tiebreaker versus Minnesota, so that shouldn't make a difference. It should be New York as the number 3 there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Zach, we gave, I think, our predictions. Alan and I both said Thieves 3-2 for that one. And then who's out for NYSL when Hydra gets his visa? So I think it's actually already been vocalized. Yeah, that is the main roster. Hydra is going on the bench. And unless something, drastically happens like we just kind of went into, then maybe you bring Hydra in as well.
Nobody. Clayster's not going to make a move right now. That was one of those things that you sign on Hydra and he gets there, he's starting immediately in that roster before we get to competition. But now that New York is cooking and they're close to beating the best teams that are currently in their group, Clayster is going to be adamantly not trying to make changes. He's going to want to work with that group and make sure that they're competing on all cylinders. Now, if someone continues to beef, do you put Hydra into the mix? Yeah, but right now, I think that was a signed contract move that was in the anticipation that he would be there from day one of them getting together. But since he wasn't, I don't think he ever sees the light of day playing in New York.
I'm on the same page. I just don't think so. I mean, even if he is tearing things up, right? It's just they're looking too good right now.
Yeah.
How much longer until London makes a change, and who do they replace? So they're probably not going to make a change until Zero is at least available, and then
even still, I don't think Zero is the answer.
Going down this, I mean, I don't think so either, because you're bringing, if anything, right, you're probably going to be bringing Zero in for Parasite naturally, because that was supposed to be the main roster. But Parasite's the one performing the best out of this entire team. I also think there's a lot of credit over towards Shawnee. And I mean, playing this AR flex that Parasite's been filling, like those two guys, for me, I think I've really been carrying that London squad, and it's the reason why they have a lot of maps for them. And the biggest piece missing is the front line, which is not what you would ever expect from Alex and Dylan. And Dylan, I think, has been having some rough games as of late, and I'm really, really surprised with this roster, I think, as a whole. But I mean, I don't think you bring anyone in for this roster, or at least not Parasite. I mean, it's really hard to say.
The problem with this London Royal Ravens roster, I think, goes beyond just who's playing, and I think it's just the mindset of the organization at large. They want London representation on the London team. They want UK players. The problem is we live in a COVID-filled world. They're not even able to play the players that they want to play. Their substitute's going to be running into the same problems that Zero is. I think at a certain point, the only way that London gets out of this funk is if somehow, some way, Dylan turns into Black Ops 4 Dylan, or they have to essentially be okay changing the identity of the team to be a not all English team. Get some North American players that are in there that can move to Charlotte, that can be a part of the squad. Because that's going to be the biggest thing that I think holds them back, is the fact that they're not willing to step away from this UK identity, which is not a bad thing. I think there are plenty of talented UK players that you could put together a winning team, but the problem is they can't get to the United States. So I think you have to put that aside and rechannel your priority to we need to start winning so we have a fan base that we can please. That's where I'm at. Let's see here. Are Prestige and Looting getting too much hate? I don't like seeing players get like flaming and toxic messages.
Yeah.
But are they playing to the level that they need to be in the pro level? I don't think so. But that's not like that they're getting too much personal hate more than they are getting professional hate.
Like, calm down in those DMs, man.
Dude, for real, dude. It's a video game at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's pretty wild, but I do think they're underperforming. I think there's just like that roster was kind of put together. Octane didn't get a lot of the top picks that he wanted, I think. And it was almost similar to how last year it went down. I think that roster is supposed to look totally different. And I also think that, Gunless almost didn't come into that roster as well. There was just a lot floating and going around. And now they're like stuck in this boat where, like with Paris, where it's like, all right, we have to kind of work with this and go with this. And I mean, it just hasn't been showcased so far. I think there's just massive issues. And maybe even getting in a different hyper aggressive flex, I think in for Pristini potentially could be, at least of help for this roster to make some moves.
If Hydra isn't starting, I assume he'll play challengers. Where does he land? Anywhere.
Yeah.
And he'll have his pick of the litter, I think, over well.
Sure.
Okay, last question, and then we'll go into the live giveaway where we'll have a keyword that you guys need to type in chat, and you'll be eligible for the Los Angeles Gorillas CDL team pack. Who's the most underrated pro at the moment in your mind?
Classic. I think Classic is the most underrated pro at the moment.
Really good answer.
I mean, I don't think he had the best performance last year on Toronto, but he wasn't meant to be the star, right? Like, it was the Cammy show. It was the Clinic show when they finally brought him in, after taking out medals. So I think Classic is, and I think that he's the key reason Paris are finding the success that they are. I mean, I think I touched on Wednesday, like if Paris are going to find wins, it's going to come off the back end of Classic having a consistent performance. He's also, I know, a big leader when you're listening to the comms with these guys, along with Aqua, right? Trying to lead the best they possibly can. Scraps also, I mean, has also stepped things up as well. But I think that Classic to me just is the one that immediately that I think of first when I think of someone who is underrated, that is also a veteran, has been in the scene for a very long time.
I'm going to go with Bance. I think Bance's performance at Toronto has been more than you could have ever expected. I still feel like people look at Toronto and say this is just a ragtag group of guys that are just happening to be playing well sometimes, but that's not the case at all. Cammy was under that kind of same lens last year, and he showed up every single weekend and became, I think, a very high consideration. He would have been maybe top 10 player last year, at least. I think Bance is in a position right now where I feel like people really aren't talking about him, and they should be, because he's playing extremely consistent, and one of the main reasons why I think Toronto has been as good as they have been in Search and Destroy especially. So yeah, very happy about what I've seen from Bance. All right, let's do the live giveaway. Again, we're going to be giving away a Los Angeles Gorillas CDL team pack, and the keyword to put in will be LAG. Doesn't matter what kind of capitalization you put in, rather, but LAG as one word will get you in for that giveaway. So all you gotta do is type it. There's a little bit of extra luck if you sub, not too much, but a little bit of extra luck. I appreciate that Quattro's not getting involved after he rigged our last giveaway by having mod bias last time around. And I guess while people are putting in, this is a good one from Ocho Gringo. We'll answer this last question. Early champs pick. Who's winning this year?
I was right last year. But I had like 4 months beforehand. Now, like, there could be roster changes. I feel like I should still be allowed to change this, but just for the answer of the question, did Optic do it again? Do Optic do it again? Like right now, I'm leaning towards Optic. It's just they have interesting runs in those final champs qualifiers or rather tournaments.
I mean, well,
they did
like the Chicago brand last year or the Optic brand last year, because you could say positive things about both of them at the end of the year.
Right. I guess I mean Chicago, but
okay.
but overall, it's been like Optic in general from the years and years and years. They have broken the curse, in IW, but it's just so hard to say right now. But I guess I'll say Optic.
I'm gonna go Atlanta.
Really?
The one caution that I have about Atlanta is I don't know if R-Cities is fully at the level of IGLing that like in those crutch moments will there be that leadership that's needed to get them over the hurdle. The reason why I want to give him the benefit of the doubt is because that Garrison round 5 play from yesterday was so freaking good, dude. Like, and the funny thing was, like, I was doing a breakdown of it today before the CDL started, and Simp and R-Cities were in chat, and I was asking questions about who was making these calls. Like, who made the call to isolate Awakening over by the A zone, bait out the streaks, and then go back to B. And it was Tyler Abizi made the call the first time around, and then the second time when they were trying to bait out the artillery strike, it was Simp who made that call to bait out the streaks and rotate back to B. So the fact that we're seeing big step up IGL moments like that, and the combination of that E United Core 3 seeing same kind of familiar things, I think is really, really positive overall. I see that team finding that confidence, finding that familiarity, and I think they could be at the level of decision making that they need to be to win a championship at the end of the year.
I just wonder if they'll peak almost too early again, like they did last year, and then teams catch up, and then they're unable to just use like that crazy dominance that they often use.
Yeah, I was worried about that when I saw the same problems with them not being able to fully hold 60s when they've got good setups on hard points at the beginning of this year, but they have been making corrections towards that. And I think that you do have a team that's receptive to what you're going to get out of Crowder and what you're going to get out of EasyMac. I think probably some of the smartest people behind the scenes right now in the CDL. And I think if Alec is not just the only one responsible for the whole team lifting themselves up, but if we're seeing good decision-making out of Simp, good decision-making out of Abizi, and them stepping up and kind of holding each other responsible, I can see the team winning. I'll tell you the team that I'm not confident in. I'm not confident in Dallas right now.
Right now. But I mean, we would have also said that, the first 3 months of last year, right?
Yeah, but like I'm really, really, really curious to see if Illy can turn this season around as the AR flex. Because right now it feels like he's still really struggling to handle that role.
I think he is. I think he's making a lot of over-aggressive chows. And I don't know if that has to do with being on 60 hertz, compared to 20 when they're playing those games. Like it is really hard to say because we just don't know. But I think that Alien Shotzzy are struggling right now. But once they get enough time into the game, I think that they're going to be on that same level that they were last year.
Fair enough. All right. Last chance. LAG in the chat to be eligible for this giveaway. Before we roll it, we actually went a little bit long today. I'm kind of surprised we did. Again, we've been doing almost the same amount of time on viewer questions that we do on the actual show itself, which is perfectly fine. I think that's actually a good way of running this show. So, okay, last chance. 10 seconds. We're rolling it. Last chance. Good luck, everybody. Then later, after this is over, I'm gonna go eat some food. And then I'm gonna be back and we're gonna be doing a playbook over the matches that I actually did not get a chance to fully see today because I was casting some Valorant today. So we'll be doing another playbook breakdown. We'll be doing we'll probably skip over doing the first match of the day because I did get a chance to watch LAT versus London, but we'll probably do everything else. So we'll be doing the playbook after that. All right, rolling it. Let's see. Good luck, everybody. Have fun. Woo. Winner.
Good luck.
Hey, Polo Mountain. What up, dude?
Congrats.
Following big congrats. Are you in the chat? Can we DM this to you? Want to make sure that he is indeed here. Just say something. Anything will happen. Anything will work. Anything will fly. Oh boy. Oh no. Haven't seen a message yet.
We give him a minute, right? We give him a minute.
We can give him a little bit of time, indeed. Hey, this Sunday, by the way, while we're waiting on Polo Mountain to respond, there he is. He's here.
Oh,
hey,
there
Sunday, he is. We've got 2 new segments that we're going to be bringing out to you guys. So it's not just Chalker Talk. It's not just overextended. It's not just scrap time. We've got 2 more segments to bring out for you. So if you missed any of the opening parts of this show, make sure you check in not only to the YouTube VOD, but also you check in on all of your favorite podcast providers. Spotify, Google, Apple, all those podcast providers host this show as soon as they get a chance to upload them. And if you're listening on any of those providers, again, we also run this show live on Twitch. So you can find it at twitch.tv/IHoldShift. Visions, you look good, brother. You look good.
Thanks, Alan.
You're welcome.
Your beard's also coming back too. You know, I like that.
You like that?
I like that you let it. I like that you grew it back out because you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it.
It's that point. I got to make a decision. It's getting to the point where it's like, all right, are we committing or are we trimming? One of the two. It's going to have to be a decision. That
chalking it or talking it out.
We chalking or talking the beard. I guess we'll find out next time. Until that point, though, keep that fuse lit. Later. Bye bye.